Okay, hello folks, welcome to this recording. I'm going to get this started here. I just finished my first ever match against a hard AI CPU. So this was kind of an interesting match. I started out playing Hades, and I was playing against, I think the enemy was Zeus. So pretty much a hard CPU marks a milestone for me because I've never been able to beat a hard or medium CPU ever before. And it was kind of interesting when I first started playing Age of Mythology. It was my first real sort of introductory to real-time strategy games. I played a little bit of Age of Empires before that, but not really at a serious level. And when I first tried the easy mode in a bot game in Age of Mythology, I was like, this is so hard. I wish there was a easiest mode like there is in Age of Empires. So what's really interesting about this game here for me is that I was able to easily gain the upper hand against these hard CPU or this hard CPU player. And you'll notice that I'm doing sort of strategies which are fairly common in, online play, but we're looking at a hard CPU game here. So again, I'm also not using any cheat codes. I'm not using anything that I wouldn't be able to use in a game against another human. The only thing that's different here is I would probably say 99% of the games that I've played within the past probably 50 to 100 games that I've played have been online games against another human player or players. And what I've learned doing this is pretty much you have to expect the unexpected. So you always want to have sort of your economy spread out a little bit, and you also want to have a strong military, but you want to put a huge amount of emphasis on economy. So I was doing a lot of expanding in this game, like I was trying to get as many town centers as I could. I also was putting a lot of effort into military, just from military academies. I should have built a few stables earlier on in the game, but the point is, you notice this game, I'm focusing 90% of my population on just economy. I think I start building some farms around right now, but we're 7 minutes and 48 seconds currently into the game against the hard AI. You notice I've put down the first wall I've built yet. This is the first wall that I'm building. And the important thing to remember is most beginning players are like, oh my gosh, I've got to be really scared of the enemy. They're going to be coming to attack me really soon. I need to put walls everywhere. And they spend most of their gold that they've spent the game mining on building walls instead of on using that gold for upgrades, for new units, or for advancing to a different age. So, I think you notice I'm already ahead in terms of the score right there. I've got 2 town centers, he's got 1 town center. And just to keep in mind, hard CPUs is sort of like a benchmark by which you can measure, am I ready to start playing, a competitive Age of Mythology presence? I would say that if you're able to beat a hard AI CPU, you would kind of fit into the sort of middle range of Age of Mythology players. Because remember, Age of Mythology is a game that's been around for a long time, so a lot of the sort of casual players have just left. So this leaves people who are Age of Mythology fans. And I've kind of discovered this the hard way because I I had never played Age of Mythology before I started playing a couple of months ago. I think I had played maybe a total of like 10 minutes of it on a friend's computer. So this was really an eye-opener. I was like, wow, everyone is so good, including the beginners. Not realizing that the beginners are actually really good at the game, just not quite as good as the people who are even better than they are. So, the important thing you want to do is spend as much of your time on your economy as you can. Try to spread out among food, wood, and gold relatively equally. You notice I've probably spent way too much attention on gold. The only reason is, though, that if you don't put enough effort into gold earlier on in the game, the gold mines all just go away after people mine all the gold. And then there's no more gold left. And I don't really have the patience to build a couple of markets and get donkey caravans going back and forth. I know I'm going to have to get used to that later on, but in beginning levels of play, even online, people spend a lot of time working on building caravan routes just because they've seen really advanced players doing that, not realizing that as a beginner at Age of Mythology, and when I say beginner, I sort of mean anyone who's still in the sort of playing against hard CPU or just sort of beginning level play. But as a beginner, you should not worry about building trade caravan routes, stuff like that. You should be focusing on trying to get the game over with as soon as possible, or if you're like me in this game that I just played right here, I was just doing it to have fun. I really just wanted to play a game where it was fun to play and just nothing else really to worry about. So, let's see, what's my population at currently? So, my max population would be 130, his is 105. So, yeah, the game's just going fairly steadily at this point. I'm still in the classical age. That's interesting to notice. A lot of people will already be in the heroic age. Interesting thing to keep in mind, though, when you're starting out with Age of Mythology, is try to balance economy with military, while at the same time balancing that with advancing to new ages, but also keep in mind that Age of Mythology is a game that you're playing it because it's a fun game and you don't want to get super stressed out. But one thing I've found is that if you just play a lot and lose a lot, that's more stressful than putting a lot of attention into the first probably, 6 to 10 minutes of the game and then relaxing afterwards when you're doing really well. So I encourage you to try to, put a good amount of effort into making sure you have a really, really strong early game. I heard a piece of advice that, you shouldn't really be talking too much early on in the game, because that implies that you're not being very serious about it. I think that was maybe Bolt TV or Strategy Game Videos or one of the other YouTube video makers on Age of Mythology. But you notice right now I'm doing a quick little raid here. This is just to get the enemy kind of wait a minute, I'm still here. You need to worry about me. And as you can see, he's sending over his dinosaur or whatever that thing is, and a whole bunch of his units. The point of this little invade right here is you just want to get the enemy kind of concerned about you and disrupt his sort of... you notice he's conducting a raid on me right now as well. So, this is a prime example of why hard CPU players are just nowhere near a bad human player. Because hard CPU players are very predictable. They do what you always expect them to do. You notice I have a ton of people just standing around. But even with that being said, look at my max population, 130 versus his 115. He's not really advancing to other town centers. And I don't have him on easy or medium CPU. He's on a hard CPU. So he's got a relatively good artificial intelligence. And you notice he's trying to attack me at my base here, but I've walled off my tower next to the temple, so he can't get right at that one. It does make it a little harder to repair it, but... and he's just attacking stuff in the middle of nowhere. Like, the reason that storehouse was there was because there used to be hunt next to the storehouse, which I already took. And that's another reason that I have farms as a priority at this point in the game, because there's no way for him to really say, wait a minute, I'm going to take all your farm area, because that means he has to get rid of my town centers first. But that's another reason that it's also very important for you to take as much hunt as you can early on in the game. Okay, so this is sort of about the point where I could just have destroyed him if I wanted to. He did have a fairly large army, but if you'll look at the number of people that we have, I mean, I've got 92 out of 130, he's got 81 out of 115. Would have been fairly easy for me. I do need to advance to the next age. If you'll notice, I have a lot more gold than I have food. This is because I'm not thinking of what I'm going to be needing to do with that gold right now. I'm thinking of, when I'm in heroic or mythic age, what do I need that for? Okay, so we're just going forward here. I'm grabbing this little town center down here. That's going to bump up my max population from 130 to, I don't know, what's it going to bump it up from? 130, I think 145, but I'm not certain. Let's see, and I will be advancing to the next age relatively soon here. Yeah, but the real... I mean, this is, again, one of the reasons that I enjoy playing Age of Mythology, is once you get to the point where you can defeat those CPU bots, you've also reached the point where it becomes enjoyable to just play the game just sort of as a means of relaxation. Like, right now, it's second nature for me to be building up a strong economy, and it feels good to be doing really well in the game. Like, honestly, it's a good feeling. Like, you notice I'm setting these hoplites to attack. When I first started playing, it was really stressful because I was like, oh, I have to be focusing on doing so much stuff. But now, it's just a click. You drag over your military units to attack some enemy base, and then you go back to you press H to go back to various town centers. And then you click that little tab on the upper right-hand corner of the screen to find idle villagers, and you just grab them and have them do various other stuff. Like, I think I'm having them build walls and farms. And the whole point of Age of Mythology is, it's kind of like you are in control, or you're like sort of the mini sort of king of your entire empire right here. And you basically are responsible for defending your empire and making your empire victorious. You'll notice I have those walls right there, and those are just plain wooden walls. I haven't upgraded them yet. Upgrading walls, if you don't need to do it, is just a waste of, I think it's 200 food and 200 gold? I think that's what it is for the beginning one. But the point is, like, okay, now I'm at the heroic age. I think I put down the underground passage in some random place. I don't even know where I put it, but I don't think I used it, really. It was about this point in the game where I was like, I am definitely winning this game. Even if you just look at the mini-map, I'm doing a lot better than him. And if you look at, oh yes, it is 145, so I've got 133 out of 145 population versus him having 100 out of 115. And most of this population is villagers. And you might wonder, well, how are you going to win if you only have villagers? The answer is quite simple. The reason I'm going to win is because I'm going to have so many resources, and I will have upgraded, this is important, I will have upgraded just key things around like hoplites. So I'll have like copper shield, copper weapons, and the copper sort of body armor, and I'll be upgrading any sort of optional sort of upgrades for things like the towers, because towers are actually really useful when you're playing against CPUs. They're not as useful when you're playing against other humans. But, and this is because the tower distracts a CPU player from, for instance, fighting against your units or your town center. But if it's a human player, they'll be like, that's stupid, and just go attack useful things like attack my houses or something. So the game felt a little stagnant to me at this point, so I was like, okay, what I need to do is I need to advance to the Mythic Age, and I also need to grab more town centers. As you can see, there's 2 town centers that are just waiting for me to take them. And I think pretty soon I'm actually going to take one of those town centers. Also, look at what I've got my villagers distributed on. There's 30 on food, 23 on wood, and 17 or 18 or so on gold. And the only reason I'm able to have so many villagers right now is because I've had all these different town centers auto-queuing these villagers and just pumping them out non-stop. And keep in mind there's also only really 2 kinds of units I've got other than villagers, and that's hoplites and then just basic cavalry. I don't have armies that are just full of tons of different kinds of soldiers. I am building the individual myth units from the town centers, but that's kind of just like sort of for fun. It's kind of like a sort of holdover from when I would play against humans. Like right now I'm making this video because I wanted to show you guys how easy it is to beat a hard CPU, but honestly, when you're playing against a human player, it's quite a bit different because humans are really unpredictable when you're playing against them, whereas a hard CPU is very predictable. Okay, so I think he's about to try to take that upper town center right there. I'm just going to wait for a second, and yeah, he's going to be taking it like right now, I think. Where is he? Maybe not. But the point is, like, I think I'm getting close to when I'm going to try to advance to the Mythic Age as well. Also interesting to notice, I've kind of just decided to have fun this game. I'm not really trying to beat him quickly. If you notice, I have a lot of soldiers, and I'm kind of just going to random areas in the map. And let's see, I've got those 3 villagers there to start working on the town center. I did have them start building a wall, though, when I saw the enemy was trying to build the town center. That's one of the classic CPU moves, though, is start building a town center when there's like 30 soldiers on the enemy team that are just standing right next to it. I mean, how dumb can you be? Also notice my population. I have 180 possible people, which will bump up to about 200 when I finish that new town center, and he can build up to 115. So he hasn't really changed that much, but that's because I have, you'll notice I have 4 town centers already that are completely finished, and he has 1. So, also, taking a glance over at the total economy over here, you'll see that I'm doing a lot better than he is. He's doing a little bit better on wood, but wood's actually not terribly important this late in the game. What is more important is basically just having a ton of population, which I have. And I could have just ended the game right now, just by attacking this town center, but I wanted to advance the myth page, just to show you another way to close out a game if you're kind of feeling like you're at a bit of a sort of, like both people are quite equal. Right now I'm killing a bunch of his houses. The advantage of that is even if he wants to build more units, he cannot build more units until he builds more houses. So, yeah, so you'll see I'm just building houses. If this was a human player, he would be putting up a ton more resistance. The enemies, as you can see, they're just trying to put down various different buildings in various places, and I'm like, why are you doing that? That is not... I mean, look, he's building more houses just waiting for me to destroy the new houses. And I'm just kind of like, really? But this is one of the things that you really gain through playing against other players online, as opposed to just playing against CPUs. Okay, so you'll notice my max population is 200. His max population is 90. That is not a good thing to see. 80. And that's because I'm destroying his houses here. And you'll notice that I have already burned through most of that gold that I had pointed out earlier on. And that's because, you know, at this point in the game, I'm more focused on having fun and just squishing his entire army and base and all that stuff. And I'm able to use all that gold. You notice also in the total gold that either of us have gotten, he's gotten only 13,500, I've gotten 18,000, I don't know, 600, 700, something like that. Okay, so I'm closing out the game here, or getting relatively close to that. You notice most of the villagers that I have that are gathering wood or food, I'm trying to get as many of them right next to his base as I can. If this was a real game against a human player, I would actually be trying to delete his town center and then build a town center of my own right on top of it, because this would also win the game by town centers, which means that, like, when you have every town center on the map, the enemy has to get one within like 2 minutes or they lose automatically. So that's one of the victory conditions. Like, another victory condition is if the enemy surrenders, another is if you build a wonder and the wonder countdown expires, which is like 10 minutes. A lot of people don't really like wonders just because they seem like a sort of sneaky way of winning. But honestly, winning is just doing whatever you can to make it so that you win that game and the other one doesn't. So you notice I'm intentionally staying away from this town center. I want to show you a really, really good way of finishing out the game. And I will be able to do that once I get the Earthquake spell, which is okay, there we are. I'm advancing right now. Earthquake is one of the 2 god powers. If I was playing against an enemy who's a human player, I'd probably go with Plenty god power, just because the Plenty god power, it gives you better economy, whereas the Earthquake god power is just able to be used once. Only really get the Earthquake god power if you're planning on just trying to finish out one of your opponents really quickly. Okay, I'm about to put the Earthquake god power down. You will see how it just destroys the enemy like so fast. It's really cool how quickly it goes. Okay, so we're almost about to advance, and let's see here. I've got all of my soldiers. I'm trying to keep them relatively away from the center, so that way when I do Earthquake will also damage my soldiers. So what you want to do is have your soldiers sort of clustered around the outside, and then you throw Earthquake down in the center, and then have all your soldiers just rush in and destroy buildings right away. You notice I immediately start researching Secrets of the Titans, even though I'm not going to even use it yet. Throw down Earthquake, that just eliminates all of them. And then you send in all of your soldiers. It just finishes out the game so quickly. It's really fun. And then the enemy obviously offers to surrender, and it is good game. Thank you again, folks, for watching this game here. Please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. It'll really help me out a ton, and thanks again for watching. Bye, cool.